Pukeology podcast, where science meets your hilarious puke stories and the tips and tricks to stop that up-chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. Pukeology.
Why is my pregnant belly sometimes hard and then other times soft? What is your body or your baby trying to tell you when you have a hard tummy? If you're pregnant and you've either looked up those two questions on Google or thought it to yourself, this podcast is made for you. Why? Because your favorite pregnancy doctor, that's me, will tell you the anatomy and physiology of what you're experiencing because I've been there and done that. In today's Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, episode 80, why is my pregnant belly hard and then soft? Do you want no more morning sickness, pregnancy nausea, or how about no more headaches or migraines? Visit our sponsor, nomonausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your worst nausea, vomiting, headaches, and sleep problems now. Get 25% off with the code PUKE25. That's PUKE25. Or just place your No More Nausea band on your baby registry for your delivery room bag at Bye Bye Baby, or get it shipped for free in just 2 days as an Amazon Prime vendor. And no, you can always have your little ones are taken care of on Amazon with No More Nausea Kids and No More Sleepless Nights Kids. The sleep one works with moms with small wrists too. Now available at your local Walmart store. So go pick it up. Do you want to hear some pregnancy humor that may just make you want to pee your pants? Like you don't have to pee all the time anyway, with hilarious stories like pickle puke, dunk that nugget, and cottage cheese, please. If you want to learn more about your pregnancy, humor and knowledge is the key to help you survive these 9 months. And just know we're in this together. Today, you will learn the science behind the 5 most common reasons your pregnancy belly is either hard or soft. When do you actually need to worry about it and go see your OBGYN? And when is it totally normal to have a hard portion on top of your pregnant belly and then a soft on the bottom? Hint, it's close to a birthday. Plus, you'll get the secret intel as to why pregnancy farts smell so bad and what can you do to stop the bloating naturally. We're all bumping around in today's Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, episode 80, Why Does My Belly Feel Hard and Sometimes Soft?
The science of puke, Pukeology.
So why is my pregnant belly sometimes hard and soft? While your stomach becomes bigger and bigger during pregnancy, it is not the only change that happens, and it doesn't just happen localized to your stomach. Now, granted, you are doing something amazing, and it's what mom's superpowers are. You're literally growing a human. But occasionally you'll notice that it looks and feels a little different as the actual bump itself. During your pregnancy, your stomach will start to feel hard and then sometimes soft, but these changes are perfectly normal and you do not need to worry. I'm going to give you all the information that you could ever possibly want about what a hard and soft belly is. Now, your belly experiences a lot of movement from the time that you get pregnant from the time you get pregnant to the time that you give birth. A physical change that occurs in your abdomen results from a progressive enlargement of your womb that accommodates your growing baby. So think of it like a hot tub that keeps growing with your child, okay? So again, at the very beginning, it's very, very small. If you follow any of those awesome little pregnancy apps, they'll tell you it's the size of a pin needle, and then it goes up to a size of an eraser head, and then it's a nut, and then it goes all the way up to where your baby is a large avocado. All right, so those are just different acronyms to be able to help us to understand how big the baby is, and then imagine the big surrounding, the womb, the uterus that is surrounding it itself. The most obvious physical change that you'll notice is tightening of your abdomen. Your belly starts to feel hard by the end of the 2nd trimester of pregnancy. But in some women, the belly might actually start feeling like harder as early as the 3rd month. Now, during the 3rd trimester, the hardness in your belly will start to disappear and your abdomen will feel normal again. So the reason why is because you have to remember that during the 3rd trimester, right, everything is softening, including your cervix. Okay. And it's not until you have those wonderful contractions that your body starts to get super hard again. And that's the reason why when we actually put in a tachometer and we're measuring, right? We're measuring that muscular intensity, you won't find it. If it was like, if you had a hard abdomen all the way up through your third trimester, we wouldn't be able to utilize that type of monitoring. So think of that as yourself as to, oh, it's going to get softer as I get farther and progressively along. So what makes your pregnancy belly sometimes hard and sometimes soft? The changes occur due to various different reasons, okay? So I'm going to go through them, and there are 5 of them. Number 1, enlarging uterus. This is the most common cause of hardening when you're pregnant. Now, the size of your uterus increases as your baby grows. As a result, it brushes against the pregnancy belly, pushing it out and pushing out your abdominal muscular structure. So remember, your abs, which again, I haven't seen mine since my last child, but I know that they're in there, right? They're what we call the 6-pack is in the cooler. But again, as you push out, that abdominal wall is all made up of muscle. Okay, so as it's even pushing, remember the muscle layer is on the outside, the womb and the baby is growing on the inside, so it's going to end up pushing. And what happens when you work out really hard and your muscles get tight? Oh yeah, it feels hard. So that's a perfect example. Now, the further growth of your uterus makes your belly hard and tighter. Second, false labor. Your pregnant belly may feel hard, and sometimes because of false contractions. We call this Braxton Hicks contractions. So if you are wondering what is a Braxton Hicks contraction, if you have no idea and you kind of want to learn more, because this is one of those key words that you'll hear during pregnancy, go check out Pregnancy Pukeology podcast episode 64. I promise you, you will learn more about Braxton Hicks contractions and who the heck is Braxton and who is Hicks in that actual podcast. So go check it out. So Braxton Hicks contractions are false because they are not consistent and they do not cause cervical dilatation. So you have to remember, when you are quote unquote in labor, okay, 2 things have to happen. You aren't just banging out those contractions, but your cervix, okay? The cervix is basically what holds the baby in as it goes, if not, all the babies would end up falling down the vaginal canal. But again, this cervical dilatation is actually an indication of you getting ready to do labor. So that's what we call active labor. If you're just having contractions, they can be caused by a lot of different reasons. And I'll use a personal experience on myself. Yes, I'm a doctor, and yes, even doctors have crazy experiences during their pregnancy. So as I went to my OB, some reason I feel like I give pee all the time. Unfortunately, I guess I didn't give pee the last couple times that I was there, and I started having this false labor, right? I was contracting and I could not figure out why. And finally, I said, let me go take a dipstick, meaning I've never had a urinary tract infection, and I actually had a urinary tract infection during my pregnancy for the very first time in my life. And what that was causing was what we called preterm labor. So I started contracting, and it's actually very dangerous because I was in my 7th month. So there's no reason for the baby needed to be born other than the fact that I had an undiagnosed UTI. What did they do? They ended up giving me different antibiotics, and then the contractions stopped. So that's a perfect example of these contractile forces, right? But there was no cervical dilatation. Other women end up getting what's called a cervical cerclage. I should probably do a podcast about this, but it's when you have what we call in medicine an incompetent cervix. That's just a fancy word for a floppy cervix. Basically, you don't want the baby to fall through. So what do? They barbed wire fence it, and then they don't let it out or cut it out until you are absolutely ready to have that baby. All right, number 3, because you're about to give birth. Hey, that is real contractions, and that is real cervical dilatation. So your pregnancy belly may feel extremely tight and hard when you're about to give birth. This is a sign of experiencing true labor, characterized by regular, notice that is regular and closer contractions. Your abdomen will feel hard every time the contraction comes to help you to push the baby out, right? So you forget that it's not just your abs on the outside that's a muscle. Your uterus is actually a muscle. And that's the reason why your body produces oxytocin. Oxytocin, yes, is that happy hormone, but oxytocin, when you're about to give birth, is actually the hormone that squeezes your uterus and helps to push the baby out. Another term for oxytocin is pitocin. And if you notice that they will hang pitocin if your body is not contracting on a regular basis or it's not doing a good enough job. And this helps to speed up the pregnancy. Some women choose to have a more natural entity where they don't have any pitocin. I will tell you, second you hang a bag of pit, you're going to start banging out the contractions, and that's when everybody calls me to end up to do a epidural because the contraction pains are for real. All right, number 4, changes in digestion. Hardening, actually, let me just go back real quick. If you do want to know more about what to expect during labor, I want to make sure that I give you this kind of the podcast that's important to you. So we have an entire pregnancy Pukeology podcast that's basically all about labor. And it's important that you know because, again, sometimes there's a lot of questions, right? So what is it and how can you prepare for it? So episode 39 is labor and delivery, and I really do want you to go listen to that. And then even more, there is episode 78. What is a birth plan for first-time moms? It's not going to go the way that you want. And you can always tell if your child is going to be a troubled child by doing nothing of your birth plan. But you have to be flexible and you have to understand what is the things that you are in control of and what are the things that you're not. All right. Number 4, changes in digestion. Hardening of your stomach may occur during pregnancy because the growing baby interferes with your normal digestion. Hint, hint, wink, wink. This is very, very important. This is why I always stress to all pregnant mamas, get a prenatal vitamin that has a stool softener in it. Yes, they make them. And yes, it will save your life because you will have bouts of constipation, right? And that's all because of progesterone. And if you want to know about more prenatal vitamins, like which prenatal vitamin should you take, go to episode 3. Now, I'm not going to tell you the exact brand name of the prenatal vitamins, but what I am going to tell you is what's important for you to have it. Just turn the bottle over and read it. So during pregnancy, the level of progesterone in the blood increases. Progesterone is a hormone that's known to cause decreased bowel movements, consequently leading to the accumulation of gas, results in bloating, making your belly nice and hard. Okay, so again, progesterone slows everything down, and why does it do that? Let's go back to why. The why is because your baby is taking all of your nutrients, right? If you ate something and pooped it right back out, the baby would not be able to absorb it. So your baby is literally pulling everything out, all those nutrients, because it needs to grow. Number 5, because there's a problem with your pregnancy. So this is another reason why your abdomen could feel tight or could feel really soft. So sometimes hardening and softening of your pregnancy belly may suggest that there is a problem with your womb. Some underlying issues that may make your stomach become hard or soft include preeclampsia. If you want to know more about what preeclampsia is, yes, I did an entire podcast on it as well. So preeclampsia, let me see if I can find it here. Episode 70, that's right. So again, what causes preeclampsia? And again, we want to make sure that all of our mamas are very aware. Preeclampsia, high blood pressure, such a high blood pressure during pregnancy that it ends up or could potentially cause seizures. And the reason why is because your brain is not getting the oxygen in the movement of blood because you're high blood pressure. So think of high blood pressure as if you were to hold your hand in a circle. Now I want you to close your fist. Okay. That is high blood pressure. Now imagine the baby, which is obviously the uterus and the baby itself, they're feeding about 20%, meaning your baby gets about the same amount as your brain. And what happens with mama's always going to try to protect that baby. So when your brain is not able to get enough oxygen, then seizures and other horrible things can potentially happen. So you want to make sure that you are always looking at your blood pressure during pregnancy. Another issue is gestational diabetes. Gestational diabetes does affect quite a large variety of women these days. And again, you do have an increased risk. I forget the percentage exactly. I want to say it's about 20% of women who have gestational diabetes will develop diabetes later on in life. So if you want to know more information about gestational diabetes, go check out episode 30 of Pregnancy Pukeology podcast. It is called Gestational Diabetes. And then the last one is miscarriage. So if your belly is feeling one or the other, very, very hard or very, very soft, and you see any type of blood, please go to your obstetrician, go talk to them. And again, I'm not saying that it is not a common occurrence, because it actually is. There's studies that have been shown that it's 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5 is a miscarriage, unfortunately. So again, what can you do? Just take a look at your belly, be in tune and in touch. So again, remember to see your doctor. If you're seeing your doctor, you're going to want to tell them or tell her or him about vaginal discharge, any spotting or bleeding, cold flashes, fever, and nausea that you might or might not be having outside of the regular morning sickness. And if you do have morning sickness, hey, you can have no more with nomonausea.com. So again, it is the first essential oil infused acupressure wristband that instantly stops your worst morning sickness. All right, pretty cool, right? So go check them out. And if you use the code PUKE25, you get 25% off at nomonausea.com. So now, why is my stomach hard at the top and soft at the bottom? For some reason, your stomach may feel hard at the top and soft at the bottom, and this happens in the 3rd trimester. Feeling hardness at the top and soft at the bottom could suggest that your baby is breached. A breech presentation is one in which the head is up and the butt is down. Okay. However, you need to consult your doctor and probably have an ultrasound done to confirm your baby's position in the womb, because they can flip all the way up until delivery. And how do I know that? Because I have seen it, and it's absolutely crazy. Alrighty, enough talking about a hard belly. Let's do a hard belly laugh with some funny puke story.
Throwing up on a Tuesday? One puke story.
Pickle puke. That's our first story. Green with envy, I thought was just a phrase until I watched someone at a theme park put the largest, most glorious pickle on a stick in their mouth. I have never liked pickles, but I was pregnant with my first and it looked amazing. I took one bite and I was hooked. The only problem is I kept eating and eating and eating them. It was in the summer, and the hot sun and the pickle juice just didn't agree. I ended up getting terribly sick in line to see the dolphins, and I looked possessed since I was with my husband, who was drinking beer, and all the people around me thought I just had a hangover. I can't wait until my bumps start showing. I was in the drive-thru at Wendy's, and their chicken nuggets and Frosties was totally calling my name. Since I was in the car trying to hurry up with my 2 kids under 2 in the back, I decided to combine the 2 together and dunk the chicken nuggets inside the icy. At that very moment, a huge wave of morning sickness came over me, and I knew in that moment I was pregnant again. I threw up all over my mom's shirt, the one that I thought that I had just eaten the chicken and chocolate on, but no, it was a total meal. And again, now changing my shirt, the kids in their diapers, and one more diaper to throw it in there, I started wailing and crying. I just look back now and I laugh. I still have no idea how I made it through 3 under 3. My husband and I have always been very fit. We do CrossFit. Until I got pregnant and the doctor said it wasn't a good idea to heavy lift anymore. We were on our way to my in-laws, and I was starving. We went through the drive-thru, and of course, my husband orders a salad, and I got the greasiest value menu on the menu. I scarfed the food down so fast, my husband thought I was going to choke, and I would add condiments directly to my mouth like a drink. So gross. Then he looks over at my folded leg as a joke and said, "Want some fruit with that cottage cheese?" He said, talking about the side of my legs. At that very moment, I broke down in tears and started vomiting the nasty food I had just ate. I don't think I will ever forgive him, especially since I ruined my favorite pair of Lululemon pants. Now, do you have a hilarious puke story that you just can't wait to share? Send it to me, Pukeology, Pukeology, at nomonausea.com, or tweet me at Pukeology so we can all have a good laugh.
Tips and tricks to stop the up-chuckle that you need.
So why does pregnancy cause gas and other digestive issues? So some females face gastric issues during pregnancy, like nausea. We all get it with our morning sickness, vomiting, esophageal reflux. Ooh, that GERD because you have a baby, and all of a sudden that burning from the back of your esophagus. Tums, I can only imagine. Tums used to be the best friends until I found no more nausea bands, and they work just as well, and I don't have to give myself any bad medications just in case there's side effects and the baby has them. Personal note there. Gastritis, diarrhea, constipation, and of course, flatulence. Now, constipation is the most common problem that women usually face during pregnancy. 3 out of 4 women face constipation and other bowel issues at some point in their pregnancy. The human body produces more female-related hormones named progesterone, which is responsible for that relaxation of your muscles. Including this relaxation is your intestines. You have to remember your intestines, everyone, are smooth muscle. So even though we can't control them, because striated muscle is something that we can control, right? Smooth muscle isn't. It's the thing that lines all the organ systems. As a result, the food passes through the intestine quite slowly, which leads to indigestion and builds up gas within them, causing bloating, excess burping, and flatulence. Now, gas in early pregnancy. A rise in the estrogen and progesterone levels in the blood of the pregnant female leads to the increased body swelling and often presents itself as gas. All right. This developing gas usually lasts in the first trimester of pregnancy, but sometimes it lasts a little bit longer. Personal note, mine lasted for all 9 months, and I thought my husband was gonna buy a gas mask. TMI. But whatever. The most important pregnancy hormone is progesterone, whose major function is to relax all those muscles, including the muscles that are around your digestive system. As a result, our digestive system works slowly as the food passes through them, gradually giving more time for the nutrients to get absorbed and back into that blood, of course, which then the stool gets really dry and the more gas is being produced due to the transient time. I always think of it like a train track, right? The box cars, number one, there's no lubrication because they're dry because they've sucked out all the nutrients. But even number 2, what happens when something is dry and you try to shove it in? You basically try to push the box cars on top of each other, you're going to get a bunch of gas, okay? So that increase in transient time of food within the intestines results in pregnancy gas or bloating. So how to reduce it? All right, here we go if you're taking notes. The solution to this problem is to have small, frequent meals, 5 or 6 meals. Okay. I know we all talk about before we get pregnant or after we get pregnant to increase your basal metabolic rate and or your metabolism. And this is another great way to do that. But during pregnancy, especially during the 3rd trimester, you're sharing your tummy space. So even though your body, you can't just expand your stomach like you want to, right? Because your eyes are usually bigger than your stomach whenever you're pregnant. It's important that you have smaller meals, and this will help to keep yourself away from the food that produces gas inside of your system, and it won't give it at such a large concentration. Now, there are foods to stay away from. Okay. So again, these foods, now, if you're a gassy person, if not, I'm not telling you that it's bad. I'm just letting you know that if you are a gassy girl, you want to stay away from beans, cabbage, sweets, and fried items. Yes, ladies, I said fried items. You better listen. All right. You are also advised to eat and drink slowly so that it may prevent excess air while you're swallowing. This can also cause different gas pains and different gas problems. So what I mean by slow, if you're anything like me, okay, as a doctor, I shovel down my food. I literally, like a seagull, not a seagull, like a pelican, right? I just take the whole fish and I swallow it, right? But while I was pregnant, I had to learn to start chewing my food. So do something that will allow you to sit down for longer periods of time so that you don't feel rushed. Now, yoga and other exercises may also help in solving this issue. If you want to know some great yoga positions and or exercise during pregnancy, I've actually have a whole Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, episode 44. It's called Pregnancy Exercise, and you can go take a listen to it because it really is helpful to show you the different positions to help alleviate things from bad sciatica during pregnancy to morning sickness relief, and even more just good breath techniques, especially during the third trimester that you can emulate while you are giving birth. Now, if constipation is an issue with iron intake, then you need to take a stool softener. And I think we talked about that, to take a stool softener with your prenatal vitamin. However, if you are facing severe pregnancy gas problems, then you really do need to consult your doctor and get some medication on board. That will be something that you would want to have a discussion with your OBGYN to make sure that they are happy with the medication that you are choosing. Don't just try to willy-nilly it, but if the best thing you can do, stay away from the things that cause you to have bad gas, and then you won't have the subsequent gas pains. All right, ladies, I hope you have now learned why your pregnant belly is sometimes hard and other times is soft, when you need to be worried about that hardness inside of your belly, and then when you know that, hey, it's just time for a birthday. Plus, we kind of led into and found out the physiology as to why do pregnancy farts smell so bad, and what can you do to naturally stop bloating, even during pregnancy. Thank you so much for joining me in today's Pregnancy Pukeology podcast. Now, if you love me, Dr. Puke Nomo, and Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, let me know. Give me 5-star ratings or hearts for likes. Don't forget to download this episode, but more importantly, share it with all your prego friends. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, episode 80, Why is my pregnant belly sometimes hard and sometimes soft? See you next time, ladies.
Pukeology Podcast, Edutainment at its finest.